Welcome to the Tangent Podcast. It's good to be back with y'all. This is your host, Austin.
I'm Jack.
That's Jack waving. I'm Ryan.
Hi, Jack.
Hi. See you from here. Isn't technology great?
I was just thinking that before we hopped on. Like, isn't it amazing that there's all these inanimate objects just sitting on our desks, and yet we're recording a podcast and sending it out to the world?
Out to the world to be judged of the world, by the world.
Well, should we get into our delicious beverage for the night? Because I'm quite excited about this one.
I'll tell you one thing, I'm not.
You're not? Why not?
Because watermelon has never been a good flavor in my mind.
What?
The watermelon Jolly Rancher, easily the worst one.
What?
The watermelon Laffy Taffy, easily the worst one.
Have you tried the other watermelon monster, the 4th of July one?
Nope.
The
Because I don't like watermelon.
ultra, I don't remember what it's called. Ultra Freedom, maybe? I don't know.
Ultra freedom.
There's
There's freedom, and then there's ultra freedom.
It's called Monster Ultra Watermelon. Okay, but it's
I
like
saw
a
that one.
4th
I
of
almost grabbed this one because I thought that's what you were talking about.
it's like a 4th of July themed one, but I'm quite excited for this. So I will read here what it says. Monster Reserve Watermelon. No juice, tea, coffee, or any tweaks to the energy blend. Monster Reserve is straight up original Monster and new amazing flavors. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver that big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster Reserve packs a powerful punch, but has a smooth, easy drinking center cut watermelon flavor. Athletes, musicians, anarchists, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Unleash the beast.
And that's Austin putting out his resume for doing voiceovers.
Dude, you should be on the frickin' radio.
I should. I've always thought that too.
So, explain to me, what is Monster Reserve? There's like 6 of them that are just called Monster Reserve.
There's
What
6
is
of them?
it?
I've only
I don't
seen
know,
2.
There was a couple. I didn't actually. Let's
It's basically just original Monster, but in different flavors.
Monster Reserve.
So in that whole thing that you read, there was nothing.
Oh, you're right. There's only 2.
There's nothing specific about reserve.
It's just
It's saying it's the original Monster blend instead of added stuff, I guess.
yeah. Instead of
Maybe-
like how they have the Ultra that's like the 0 sugar. This is basically the same as original Monster, just in a different flavor.
But they specifically say no additives, because it seems like, how do they get watermelon flavor without adding something?
No. It says no juice, tea, coffee, or any tweaks to the energy blend.
So they have like the original Monster, but the other ones that have sugar are all like juice or iced tea.
This
This
has
is just
so much less sugar than Mountain Dew does.
right, and it's got
Like
half the sugar of a regular.
and it's a bigger can.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, let's crack this bad boy open.
Ooh.
I don't hate it. That's actually much better than I was expecting.
That's pretty good.
Okay, this is gonna sound really weird. There's a part of me that thinks it tastes like gum.
I
Not
can
like
see
I
that.
could see that.
For
I
sure.
was thinking, do you remember not the little watermelon Laffy Taffies? Maybe it wasn't Laffy Taffy. Maybe it was a different kind of taffy. But it was like the long strip
Airhead.
that was watermelon flavored, and it had the little black edible like seeds in it. Do you
No,
remember
I
that?
think that was Laffy Taffy.
Yeah, it
But they
tastes.
just kinda,
It
like,
tastes
did
like
something-
that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You guys see what I'm talking about? Because usually I feel like I say something, something tastes one way, and you guys just never agree with me.
Huh, not terrible. I don't love it. I don't dislike it.
Would you get it
Yeah,
again?
it's.
No.
I wouldn't, but it's fine.
I would definitely get it again.
It's easily way better than I was expecting a 3. I'm gonna give it a 6 though.
Yeah, I was gonna say 6 as well.
I give it a 7.
I changed my mind. Probably 5.5.
It has kind of an interesting, like, overpowering. I don't know what to
The
call it,
aftertaste is
flavor,
interesting.
but
It is smooth though. I'll give him that. It's quite smooth.
um,
I feel like
has an
that's
oak.
I feel like that's what the original Monster blend is a very smooth
gosh.
flavor.
That's what it. Okay, that makes sense. It's literally just regular like original Monster, and then they just squirted in some watermelon flavoring.
Is that what
like-
it says?
No, but that's what it tastes like.
Yeah,
That
I
is,
don't
that
really
is some
like
excellent marketing to just say it's the same old stuff. We just squirted in some flavoring.
Dude, like I don't know if you had like a regular Monster side by side and just drink it, it's super similar, just with that added
Yeah.
on top.
I honestly don't love the regular Monster.
Well, that's that overpowering taste you were talking
Yeah.
about earlier. That's the regular Monster. I can taste it now.
Huh.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Interesting.
Decent, but not the best.
Decent, but not the best.
The other watermelon Monster is easily better to me.
I have had
I think I've ever had that one.
far worse, and I would get this many times again.
You know, I would, but they're just much better options.
That's true. Yeah, that is very true. Well, we're running out of drinks to buy at the old Maverick, so
It's true.
we need to either start ordering some online or figuring something else out. 'Cause we're gonna dry up here pretty soon.
So here's a good question. Do we want to how far are we willing to go to get a new beverage?
About 4 minutes.
Cuz at the gas station I see a lot of natural energy drinks.
Oh, those are terrible, dude.
Awful.
They're so bad.
Completely agree. But
Oh,
many that I've never tried because they taste the one or two that I've had are so horrible.
So bad.
So that's why I bring it up. How far you want to go?
I'm looking at a list of weird energy drinks. Some of the ones on here are the Tylenol energy drink,
Ew.
What?
the Pac-Man energy drink, the cocaine energy drink.
Okay. This can't be real.
That's a list of real energy drinks out there. The Mario energy drink, the Bomba hand grenade energy drink. Ooh, it's even got a pull tab on it like a real grenade. The Duracell battery energy drink, and the Liftoff energy drink, and the Duff beer energy drink
Oh, we
from
get-
Simpsons.
We're gonna try the
Excuse
new
me.
one from Mountain Dew. Did you see that Mountain Dew started making energy drinks?
I thought they'd been doing.
It's called Mountain Dew Energy. It's got a picture of a lion on it.
Yeah, I've had
Oh,
those.
yeah. Ryan and I saw those at the store one day. I think we've tried those, Ryan, haven't we?
Yeah.
I've tried
We
one
got
of them,
'em-
I think.
Isn't one of them called Rise or something?
Okay.
It used to be called
Rise.
Mountain Dew Rise, and then they, for some reason, changed it to Mountain Dew Energy.
Okay, we tried Mountain Dew Rise. I remember it not being that great, if I remember right. Do you guys remember Amp when Mountain Dew made Amp Energy?
Amp was great.
Was so good. Why did they get rid of amps?
I don't know. Amp was the best. That was the first energy drink I ever tried, and probably by far like one of the best I've ever had. That, and then there was also a soda that was like a Mountain Dew knockoff called Vault. Do you remember that at all?
I remember
Sounds
Vault.
familiar.
I remember Vault.
Vault was delicious.
Oh,
Vault
I
was
do
so
remember
good.
that.
So on the opposite end of like how far do we want to go, there is also a energy drink that a coworker of mine told me about. Shout out to Bryson, which we need to have him on the podcast because he has a crazy story. And on the label for Spike energy drink, it says in big bold letters, recommended use, begin use with 1/2 can per day to determine tolerance, never exceed 1 can daily. Caution, this product contains strong stimulants and should not be combined with any other stimulants or weight loss supplements.
Wow.
How much caffeine does it have? I'm looking it up. 350 milligrams. So that's like
Wow.
some of the rock stars have 300 to 350 in them.
And a 5-hour energy has 300. Yeah, I think a 5-hour energy has 300 in it.
Hard.
So the Rockstar Punch 0 caffeine count, let's see, is I believe that one's 350 milligrams of caffeine. Let's see. Oh, 240. Okay, I was way off. Still, that's a lot though.
Mhm.
Has Bryson tried Spike Energy?
I
would
don't
like to hear
remember
his experience.
because I asked him that, but I don't remember exactly what he said. He either did try it, but it was only one can, or he didn't try it because he read the label and didn't want to try it.
Have you looked at the nutrition facts? I love. There's one vitamin in it. It's vitamin B12, and it's approximately 4,160% of your daily value.
Oh my gosh.
4,000%.
All of this stuff
40
that
times your daily amount.
all the nutritionists saying you need all these different vitamins. You only need one, and it's B12. That's all you need.
You guys remember, Ryan, were you on the podcast when we had the Raptor energy drink that had a dinosaur on it?
Oh, that was weird.
I think that was one of the first ones that I was on. Yeah.
If you want to find weird energy drinks, go to the Latin markets in Logan.
Oh.
And that's where I found the dinosaur one. They have some weird ones in there that they get shipped from like Mexico and Colombia. I don't know if I trust them, but we could give them a shot if we need a new beverage.
Yeah.
What was that one that we thought was so good and we were gonna get all of them? And
Science.
that's it.
They still, every time I go to Washington, I get some because they have them in Montana on the way there. So I'll buy like 3 or 4 of them and keep them for the trip.
I was gonna see if they have any new flavors. Anyway, we should probably get going on the
This is what our listeners are paying for, is
They're not paying for
specifically
anything.
They're not
our
bad.
commentary on the drinks.
If you'd like to pay, we'd appreciate it.
Actually, there's a new feature that we can set up on our podcasting site that will allow users to basically Patreon us, give money each month.
We should get some shirts, and then whoever pays
I would
us,
love to do that, but
that'd be fun.
I hear that's
That
kind of
would be.
expensive unless you do it in like hundreds of orders at one time, and I'm not sure. Oh, hey, we have early access to video podcasts on Spotify.
Ooh.
We can do that now, apparently.
We can
as
put
well.
our video on Spotify.
Yeah, so
Look
that
out,
now.
Joe Rogan. Here we come.
let's see. So subscriptions is what it's called. Oh, never mind. It says you can't set up subscriptions while listener support is enabled. What is listener support?
Oh, maybe you have to be an advertiser then.
Oh, it's the exact same thing. Listener support and subscriptions are the same thing. What the heck?
So is listener support through Anchor and subscriptions is through whatever podcast app you're on, like Spotify then? Or
They're both on Anchor.
All of this is definitely got to get cut out of the podcast.
no, the users need to know what we go through to get the content to the masses, okay?
Do you ever listen to other podcasts and you hear them? Oh, for sure, we're cutting this out. And
Oh, all the time. Oh, peep this. Alien Theories Theorizing?
Uh-huh.
They do a call-in show now, and I called in the other night and got on their show.
Did you really?
I did. I told my ghost story.
That is great.
It's going to be released soon, so I will get lots of listens on there.
Yeah,
Okay, what price do we want to choose for our paid content?
Well, what do we think this is worth?
Well, we don't have any paid content, so
That's Yeah, that's a loaded question.
Our options are $1 a month, $5 a month, or $10 a month. Let's do one.
Well, I always heard the saying, shoot for the $10 and you might land among the $1.
Never mind. I have to
So-
choose existing episodes already, so I'd have to make them like private and only for subscribers. That kind of feels like a douchey move. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah,
We could do-
unless we had like some actual behind the scenes or whatever, then
All right, I'm just gonna set up listener support. I don't know how to do it though.
We could do gaming streams and video them, and then do that as our paid content.
Like for an hour after each episode, you get to watch this game.
Yep, and rage. We'll play Siege, so we make sure there's a lot of rage in there,
Oh yeah.
and a lot of words that
Oh yeah.
we can't include on the regular podcast.
and then gain the explicit label.
And as we used to say in the old days, all the gas will be included in the paid content as well. So
Oh yeah, all of it. So, for listeners, if you care, you can go to anchor.fm/tangent podcast, and there is a support button. If you click said support button, it says, how much would you like to contribute? And you have a choice of $1, $5, or $10 monthly. But you can always
Monthly.
just... It is monthly. It doesn't have an option for me to disable that, but, I mean, you can just cancel it if you don't want to do it monthly. Just do it.
We really need to get some shirts that we can send people.
yeah.
That would be awesome. But, yeah, let us know if you're interested. Anyway,
I
let's
could-
get on with the episode, huh?
I'll 3D print some tangent keychains or some swag. That we
There
could
you
send out.
go.
That would be dope.
Do that.
All right. Yeah. Moving on. That's enough.
Enough
Give me
business.
money.
Housekeeping
talk.
items there.
All right, so we're moving on to today's subject. Now, today's
Sorry,
subject,
Just got a big chill. Whew, man.
apparently the subject gives you the burps, too.
It just got real cold down here. Where's my blanket?
Okay, so today's subject is kind of something that overlaps with a lot of different theories, a lot of different paranormal experiences. So, the reason that I wanted to talk about this one specifically is because I feel like there are some instances where the subject of missing time happens and not necessarily some of the other stuff. So, wow, Jack rocking the glasses. I don't think I've ever seen you wear glasses.
Oh, really?
We have
I like
the same
sometimes I like to
glasses.
see. Oh yeah, look at that.
Ryan, when you edit that video, you should put that part in slow motion where Jack was like flipping his hair.
And put in like a Pantene Pro V commercial.
I spilled Monster on myself.
So, this particular experience with that some people go through of missing time, it overlaps with a lot of different subjects. The most common one is aliens, but what are you saying, Austin?
So explain what you mean by missing time.
Okay. So the definition of missing time is a gap of conscious memory identified with a certain period of time. So in
So
other words, when you go to sleep, there is missing time.
So I've heard the concept before, but to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. So how do I phrase this? From the stories that I've heard, it seems like the people who miss time aren't initially aware that they've missed any time. To them, it just seems like time is going on as normal, right?
They don't know until they see the clock or something like that.
That's right. So this gap can span a few minutes or it can span a few hours. Excuse me. Can span, we really could release some of this content of just like all gas included.
Well, the $10 subscription will be the all gas pass.
The gas pass. I like that.
All right, we might have something here.
I don't think we do. No.
No
Why
one
don't
wants to
you
hear
guys
that.
Tell us if you guys want the gas pass. You let us know, and we'll hook you up.
So some of that time can span just a few minutes. It can span a few hours. For some people, a few days. Still, with some other experiences, there's gaps that we've talked about in previous podcast episodes of several years. One of those that comes to, well, yeah, I'd say so. So, we talked about a flight that went missing, like in the '60s or '70s. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Oh,
Didn't
yeah,
I
it was
talk
a
about
flight that went missing in the 50s and showed up in like the 90s.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I feel like I
essentially,
talked about that.
I think you did.
the essence of that is that all of us on the outside of this time lapse, time is still in this linear format, but then the people that were on that plane, when they called into the tower, they're freaking out. Well, they're not even freaking out. They're just saying, "Hey, we're coming in for a landing," but then like just everything didn't mesh up. So according to them, they're just coming in for a regular landing, and on the outside, we're seeing like something's not right here.
And they were also like down in Venezuela when they were supposed to be flying to like Florida or something.
Oh, that was our that was the Bermuda Triangle episode.
That's right. That was Bermuda Triangle.
So, with the Bermuda Triangle, there's a lot of missing time that tends to happen. So, that's essentially the missing time. So, I mean, is it that you're in this portal and you go from one thing to another, or is there like a time warp around you? And then how is it that it's just around you, or around an object or the plane or the car or whatever that you're in? But some of these, one of the most famous ones where there was missing time was with Betty and Barney Hill, which will go into more depth into the future. So, Betty and Barney Hill was essentially one of the first thoroughly recorded UFO encounters. And
Which by the way, if you listen to the audio tapes about that, it is freaking scary.
so creepy. You can listen to the hypnotherapy session with Barney,
It's weird.
and it's super freaky. But essentially, what happened with them as far as their experience with missing time that then led them to this hypnotherapy was that they're driving down a desert road late at night. They see a strange object, and then the next thing that they know, they're miles down the road, having
The
lost.
Hotel California.
Dude, that's what I was thinking the whole time when he said,
Warm smell of colitas.
what did he say
rising
something
up
about
through
the
the
desert
air.
road, and I was about to say with cool breeze in their
Yeah.
cool wind in their hair.
Up ahead in the distance, they saw a shimmering light.
A UFO.
But I mean, that's essentially what led them to get the hypnotherapy and to try and unlock what happened in that missing time. So the missing time aspect by itself is usually the symptom that people have, and then it leads them to try and figure out what then went on. Which
Wait,
then
so go back to their case. How much missing time did they have?
3 hours.
3 hours. And they discovered it how?
So then through subsequent hypnosis that they went through, because they were just thinking like there's something there. So their experience that they kept describing to each other was like, I remember like going to touch and like wanting to shake someone's hand and feeling like all of this intense emotion, and then we were just back up on the road 3 hours later. So the two of them knew that something weird happened, and they're just trying to figure it out, and they feel like it's in there. They just can't remember it, and it's just like on the tip of their tongue. They can't quite put a finger on it. So they felt like going to get hypnosis therapy is going to unlock those memories in that time of what happened to them. So that's probably one of the most famous cases that involved missing time, that specifically dealt with alien abductions, but not all missing time is specific to alien abductions or UFOs. A lot of people experience it with Bigfoot. A lot of people experience it with
Bigfoot's magic confirmed.
magic confirmed.
Confirmed.
100%.
Nice. I gotta interject. This is nuts to me. Did you guys know that for the Monster drink, that it says manufactured for Monster Energy Company, and then the address is One Monster Way in California.
That's legit.
They changed the street to be named after them. How do you do? What can I go and be like, hey guys, this is now Jack Street? Just that is just bonkers to me.
The way you said that reminded me of that part on Family Guy. Well, yeah, how you doing that? How you doing that?
Well, when this podcast gets big enough, we'll call it Tangent Avenue.
Tanjav.
Show Schmeed Avenue.
Okay, sorry.
Social media circle. Yep.
You
Okay.
can continue now. I'm sorry about that.
Wow, it's like I missed some time there.
Ha.
So, yeah, a lot of different instances that missing time can happen. And usually it is all around different paranormal experiences. And it, like I was saying, the majority of times, at least that I've seen, it is a symptom of something that happened, not the actual thing that happened. So, getting into that, I have a personal experience someone had with missing time. So this is a good example of where there's not always an immediate like teleportation thing or appearing in some other random location. Although I do have another story that involves that. It's not always the case. So this person says, when I was in high school, I lived with my mom in my childhood home, which was in the middle of nowhere. My bus ride was over 40 minutes, and my house was at the end of a dead-end road with only 4 other houses on it. Normally, my mom worked weekdays and would be leaving before I went to the bus, but shifts had been switched around, and for some reason, which sometimes happens, she ended up working at home. I woke up at 6:50 as normal. Okay, just interjecting something. Whenever I'm reading stories and the stories are like maybe a little too specific, then I start to like question. So I don't know. 6:50 seems to be a little too specific to me. But anywho, I woke up at 6:50 as normal, got ready, and left the house at 7:30. I remember specifically my mom was loading the dishwasher when she said goodbye to me. I walked down to the beginning of our dead-end road, which was a 2 to 3 minute walk at most. So let's see, 2 to 3 minute walk, that's like a block, probably.
Like 2 to 3 minutes. Yep.
Like 2 to 3 minutes, yeah. Across from the road was a crappy public beach on a very small, isolated lake. The beach is where the bus stop is, and the bus came at 7:40 every day. So if he left the house at 7:30, he's going to be arriving 7 minutes early. And as he is sitting there waiting for the bus, he also interjects, giving a little bit of context, that his house was the first stop. And so occasionally, whenever there was a substitute driver, there wasn't any reason for them to forget his stop because he's the first stop. So we got to the bus stop as normal, and I was the only one that was picked up there, and no other houses were visible from the stop. It was 10 or 11 years ago. I didn't have a cell phone, didn't have a watch. But because of his schedule, he says that it was obvious to him exactly how the time should be because he's on this routine schedule. So soon I felt I felt the time had definitely passed for the bus driver to pick me up, but I waited another few more minutes just to make sure. I still couldn't even hear the bus. Once or twice there'd be a substitute bus that would come extremely early, so I figured that may have happened, and it was obviously not coming at this point, so I walked home, keeping an ear out, of course, just in case I missed the bus. When I get back to the house, it should be about 7:50, but when I opened the door and my mom saw me, she had just started the dishwasher, and the clock on the dishwasher showed that it had only been 1 minute into the cycle. She was really surprised to see me. How could I have missed the bus when I left with so much time before it came? Talking to his mom, he says, I'm equally confused. I don't know why the bus driver didn't pick me up. But she wasn't mad at me, and she wasn't mad at me because she watched me leave with plenty of time to catch the bus, and the bus driver, for whatever reason, didn't come. She had errands to do, so it wasn't any problem for her to take me to school as well. It was at this time that she glanced up at the kitchen clock, the same one I was checking when leaving the house, and when she said goodbye to me. And the clock, okay, so the person, the way that they wrote this, I'll read it exactly as it says. This is when she glances up at the kitchen clock. Same one I checked my leaving time on when she was saying bye to me. And says, what? Because it's 3 minutes to 9 a.m. We stare at each other in stunned silence. Is the clock somehow broken? We soon realize all the clocks are the same. The clock in the car is also the same, and I end up being an hour late for school. So, it was supposed to be 7:50, and when they look up at the clock, it is essentially 8:50, 8:55-ish. So, they had lost a complete hour. What I think is really interesting about this story is that not only is it the kid that is outside the house, but then it also, whatever the situation is, also encompasses the house and his mother. So,
where does it say where they lived?
No. I do think that is a very relevant question, because if it's in an area with a lot of paranormal activity, that could play into it.
Or if it's an area with a lot of daylight savings, that could miss an hour.
So we can rule out Arizona. That's a valid comment.
Like I don't want to discredit your story, but it's like it's so perfect that it's 1 hour. It's like
so true.
And then all the clocks are the same. Did they just forget to like set their clocks back or something or whatever, you know?
Now, granted, in the story, it does specifically say that when he left, he looked at the clock and it said that it was 7:40.
Okay, valid.
So I mean, there's that. But once again,
how old was the kid? Did he? I mean,
this is in high school. High school.
Oh, high school. I know a few high schoolers that probably couldn't read a clock when I was in high school.
That's true. That's true. What's your thoughts so far, Jack, on this particular experience?
Oh, the shared fact seems a little weird to me. I've never heard it be shared between people. Okay, I've heard it between shared, but it's usually people that are with each other.
Yeah, yeah.
They were separated, which is weird to me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That just doesn't seem like, why would this thing target them when they're complete? I'm assuming hundreds of yards from each other. I don't know how far away
At
the bus
least
stop is.
2 to 3 minutes from each other.
So I missed, maybe you said this, I might have missed it. Was there anything that they experienced? Like, did they see a weird cloud, or did something, happen that they could have maybe tied the phenomenon back to, like an event that they thought, like, oh, that was weird?
And that's what's actually really interesting in some of the other stories, is that they usually have some kind of event, like you're saying, or in one story that I heard on another podcast, was that this couple was driving a vehicle and they remember going through a really thick fog, and they remember in that fog they had both seen an upside down vehicle that was on fire, which is a very, very odd thing. But then, like, they remember seeing it as an odd thing, but then just like continuing driving. And so their personal experience and belief about it is that whatever's happening in some of these missing time experiences is that if there is some like entity involved, are they using something to like distract you, like either the fog or using that one object or flammable thing in order to like divert your attention to that. But I mean, in this situation, you don't see that. So this
Well,
is,
at least he doesn't mention it.
yeah, I mean, that's true. So,
But then again, he doesn't also see an entity or anything like that either. Like, he just
right, right.
just has a missing hour.
So he ends this story saying that to this day his mom refuses to talk about it, and nervously just laughs it off as a weird experience. But she doesn't like paranormal stuff, and she doesn't specifically like talking about the experience. So,
Interesting.
and that's a common thing in that story that I heard on that podcast of them going through a thick fog. That was the thing that they also shared, is that they didn't want to actually figure out what happened because they were concerned that that was going to be a bigger thing for them to have to handle than just missing
How much
time.
how much time were they missing again? Like hours, right?
Yeah, those people, I remember that they had missed like a couple hours. They were driving to a specific appointment that they had, and when they left, they had given themselves plenty of time that they would have been like 30, 40 minutes early to the appointment. But then because of that couple hours of missing time, they ended up being like an hour and a half late to where they were going, and they just couldn't figure out what had happened. And the guy just basically said, like, I had to quit thinking about it because it was driving me crazy, and trying to come up with all of these possible solutions of what could explain this experience that they had.
Interesting.
But I also thought it was interesting that other people were like, oh, well, hey, missing time, like, go get hypnotherapy and see what happens. He's like, no. I would much rather just chalk it up as like, I don't know what happened and then never thinking about it again, than to open Pandora's box and have it ruin my life.
Weird.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So in this other situation, okay, so this is one where there kind of is an object, or at least something to like attract attention. But I think it has a fun twist. So, in this one, this person This is called The Strange Case of Missing Time. This event occurred to me at least 12 years ago, and I still don't know what happened. Driving home from a Friday night shift at the newspaper, my car cruise control was set at 55 miles an hour. There again, oddly specific to me. But my cruise control was set at 55. I drove by a road sign I've driven by hundreds of times, and it reads Auric 5 miles. Just as I went by, the Rolling Stones' Gimme Shelter came on the radio. Perfect. I lived in Auric, Missouri at the time, and Gimme Shelter was not only my favorite Rolling Stones tune, it was also 4 minutes and 37 seconds long, which would last me all the way home. Then...
Very specific.
Very specific. Then my drive fell out of reality. I pull on the car. Okay, so this is, I think, kind of an odd way to describe it, but he says a pull on the car engine snapped me out of the road hypnosis. So he's driving along, got the cruise control, listening to the music, and then gets into that zone.
In the zone, the driving zone. Everybody's hit that driving zone.
I've been there, and it freaked me out one time.
Where you drive for like 20 minutes and then wonder how you're still alive. Yeah.
You're just like, oh, whoa, did I not kill anyone? Or
I'm 2 towns over.
Completely freaked me out. So he says a pull on the car engine snapped him out of the road hypnosis. So he's sitting there in the zone, and the pull he's talking about is he feels the engine rev, essentially. So his whole body gets pushed back. That's the pull that he's talking about.
Okay.
So he feels the pull. It took me a few seconds to realize that pull was the cruise control trying to keep up the speed going up a hill. The trouble was there were no hills between that road sign and my turnoff. Looking out the window didn't help. A thick fog had enveloped the car, and I could barely see the dotted line on the road. I slowed the car and drove up 2 more hills before I saw a light piercing through the fog. Here's the fun twist. Turning onto a gravel road toward the light, I found myself in the parking lot of a Jehovah's Witnesses church.
All right.
That's funny.
So he pulled off into the Jehovah's Witnesses church and knew where he was at that point, and he was 5 miles on the other side of his turnoff. As I sat in the parking lot, my car in park, trying to figure out how I missed the exit, I heard something I couldn't believe. Gimme Shelter still playing on the radio. It continued to play for another full minute and a half. After I calmed down a bit, I put the car in gear, pulled back onto the highway, and went home. The fog quickly dissipated. I'd driven 10 miles in 3 minutes at 55 miles per hour. All right, we need some mathematicians here.
I gotcha. 55 miles per hour in 10 minutes.
Yes. Well, he said he drove 10 miles in 3 minutes.
10 miles in 3 minutes.
10 miles in 3 minutes.
So how fast would he have to be going if that were the case?
10 miles in 3 minutes. That's 200 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Right? Because if you're going, because 60 divided by 3 is 20.
How many minutes? 3?
3 minutes.
Calculate. According to this website, that would be 200 miles per hour. Yep.
Good crap.
You guys doubted me. I took 1050 3 times in college, okay?
I didn't take 1050.
Well, I took it once when I was a business major and got a C minus, and I needed a C, so I took it again, got a C minus again, and then I switched majors and didn't even need to have above a C in math, so I had to take it a third freaking time. and then yeah,
That's
stupid
essentially
math.
going 1 mile every 18 seconds.
That is
Jeez.
common.
So, okay, so do this the other way, Jack. If he was going 55 miles per hour,
Okay.
how long would it take him then to get the 10 miles?
That'd be like 11 minutes.
Wait, say that again. If you're going 55 miles per hour, how long before, what, 10
Yeah,
miles?
10 miles. I think Austin's right. It'd be around 11 minutes.
Yeah,
55
it'd be
miles.
10 and a half minutes. 11 minutes.
It'd be, let's see, 55 miles in 10 minutes. You'd be going, or let's see.
It'd be roughly 10 minutes. Yeah, a little bit more than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
So yeah. So in this situation with this guy, this is where he's only missing like what did we figure? So it would have taken him a little over 10 minutes, but he did it in 3 minutes. So he's only missing like 7 minutes. So not that much, but I do find it very odd that on the one way, going in one direction, it's super foggy, then coming back, then all of a sudden it starts to clear up.
And hills too.
And hills, yeah.
So did he say that? So he saw a piercing light in the fog, but he never saw what the piercing light was?
It was the Jehovah's Witnesses church.
Oh.
So
right.
So this is
Okay.
that twist. Is it the Jehovah's Witnesses that are causing the
behind it.
missing time?
Let me
Alright,
look up
so
Jehovah's.
The exact math would be 10 minutes and 49 seconds is how long it should have taken.
Eh. Nice.
Well, I looked up Jehovah's Witnesses missing time and just got like 10 times that Jehovah's Witnesses were wrong, or 8 times that Jehovah's Witnesses were wrong about the end of the world. So
You're on a list now. They're going to be knocking on your door.
he used to knock on my door in Logan all the time.
You know, I actually
And
what I find really funny is that the day before I read this, I had went and got my mail and a letter from the Jehovah's Witnesses. So that to me
No
was the
offense
funniest
to Jehovah's
part.
Witnesses. We got nothing against you, if you are.
Yep.
they used to fight with us on my mission. Not fight with us, but they would yell at us a lot on the streets. Good times.
Good
They always carried
times.
umbrellas.
So, your opinions on that particular story?
On that story, well, that story,
I'm not sure I buy that one, honestly.
yeah, here's the thing. He's in the zone. When you're in the zone, minutes can pass like crazy. And
Right.
I know he had the music going, but like,
Dude, that's the problem with mine is the music. Like, we're not talking about missing time in that case. We're talking about straight up teleportation.
Mm.
Because if you had said something along the lines of, apparently we were 2 songs after that song, then I could buy it. But no, he said it's the same song, and I'm just like, I don't know, man.
yeah, at what point, like, how big is the envelope of the missing time? Like, was the song included with him when he jumped through
Yeah,
whatever
see,
time
that's
he
what I'm
missed?
saying.
Like,
Is the song should not be included.
Oh, okay. This is good discussion. This is good.
So here's my theory on missing time in general. This is what I think it is. So the first story I ever heard about missing time that like really got me intrigued in, this is one of the stories that actually really got me intrigued in like any kind of paranormal, like this kind of stuff that we talk about, was that there's this guy that went jogging, I think in Washington,
The
and
guy
he
on the
was
side of the road. Oh, that was a biker.
the dead biker. No, different guy.
And he's still missing
Oh,
that time.
Dead biker guy. Oh man, tries to
never
make that
let
time up.
fully
Tries
die.
to make that time up every day. And this keeps getting hit. No, this guy goes jogging. He went to this trail like every single morning in the woods and would go jogging. It was like a pretty well known like running and biking trail. And I think it was just like a couple mile loop, and he would do like 2 or 3 miles before work. It would take him like 20 to 30 minutes, and then he would go back to his car. So he went at like 8 in the morning. He starts running, and then as he's like getting away from the parking lot, like he notices like he's not seeing anyone else. Things start to get quiet, and he thinks it's weird because like the trail is pretty well known to the public and there's always people there. But as he gets like further and further away from the parking lot, like the noises start to fade and things just get like super dead quiet. And he notices like he's hyper aware of like the quiet of what's going on. So then he sees what he thinks is like a Bigfoot in the woods running around. So he gets freaked out and he turns around and starts running. I don't remember if he turned around the way he came or if he was already far enough that he just kept going on the loop. But regardless, he turned around and got back to his car. So he gets back to his car and he notices that it's like twilight now. And it's like evening time. Not twilight, but it's like late evening, like 5 or 6 o'clock. And so he gets in his car and he turns on the car and he's like, whoa, it's like I don't remember the exact time, but sometime in the evening. And he had like 30 missed calls from his boss and like all these text messages like, where are you? Like, why didn't you come to work today? And like his family's calling him, like all this stuff. So he's super freaked out and he's like, I've literally been in the woods for 20 minutes. And then he had like basically half a day of missing time. So my theory, so like you said earlier with Bigfoot or with aliens, like my theory with missing time is that there's some sort of like rift or like manipulation in space-time. And especially with aliens, so like a common theory with aliens is that the propulsion that they use for their craft, rather than being like a traditional like jet fuel propulsion, how they propel themselves like instantaneously through space or basically teleport, is that they have a device that manipulates gravity that can fold space time. So what is now this distance, they use a device that manipulates gravity and folds that plane or that space time down to this distance. And now they're just there instantaneously rather than having to travel the distance. They just fold it up and they're already there. So that's like a wormhole. And so if Bigfoot, like there's a lot of theories that Bigfoot is an interdimensional creature. And so if he's traveling interdimensionally through a wormhole or some sort of rift or that space-time is bending, I think that missing time comes from us interacting with that fold in the space-time. And so I think that's why missing time is commonly seen, like alien abductions, Bigfoot, other paranormal things that people would say like are interdimensional. So that's my whole theory. So I think in the fog, something interdimensional. Maybe the Jehovah's Witnesses was just a coincidence, but
maybe it's the spirit. Spirit really got to him.
Maybe. That's my thought, is that there's some sort of bend or manipulation in space-time, and that's what's causing the missing time.
Jack, what's your impression?
I don't know. I got nothing on this one. There's really nothing to, at least from the stories I've heard, there's nothing to suggest aliens like everybody says. There's like nothing at all. It's just all of a sudden time. I don't know.
So here's, I think, is a good mind experiment. Because after I had listened to that one podcast of that couple that were traveling and had that experience, it made me really question what I would do in that situation. So putting it back to you, Jack, what do you think your feelings would be if, like in Austin's scenario that he was talking about, Bigfoot, if you had missed half a day and then had gotten all these messages of people looking for you and you not answering, and you feel you had only been gone for, say, an hour? And then there's literally, like, you didn't fall asleep, you didn't like get into this like weird like headspace or meditating or anything like that. There's just literally nothing to explain the hours that went missing.
I tried to test what happened. I would do things like, I don't know. I would honestly be curious. Like, this sounds weird, but how hungry I was. Like, let's say 12 hours had passed, or whatever that guy's. I don't know what it was. Would you say it was like 6 or 7 hours or something like that? If he goes before work and then it was nighttime.
Yeah. It was like 7-8 hours. Yep.
It's probably at least 7 or 8 hours. I'd be freaking hungry, right?
Well, I mean, I kind of feel like there's waves of hunger. I mean, you go something like 4 hours and then you start to feel those hunger pains, but you get over it after a little bit and then you start feeling normal again.
I still feel like I'd feel something.
That's an interesting thought, though.
I don't know. And then like things like, I'd be curious, like, if I had my phone on me, does my phone's battery, like, is it still like morning time battery levels, or is it like 12 hours has passed battery levels? I'm curious to what, like, about, like, you know, items on me. Did they come with me through this time thing, or is it just my consciousness? Is it a physical thing, or is it a consciousness thing? I'm curious about that as well.
In my thoughts of this whole like bending of space-time or folding of space-time and your body like moving through that manipulation, I think that I don't think that if I were to like step through a fold in space-time that like my body would have aged that much time that I missed, or like my cell phone would be dead. Like I think that everything that passes through that fold would still be in like a similar condition. But everything outside of that fold would have still moved at its normal rate. So that's why you see like a difference in the clocks or things like that. But I mean, that's just my theory.
Well, see, in that case, why did it affect the mother and the son?
Because they were both within the fold of the space-time.
But then the clocks were also there.
Their entire neighborhood was.
That's true. Yeah, the clocks. Yeah.
And I mean, the clocks are just running off of a battery and a small little computer. And with the different times that they've sent up into space and those that they've kept on the Earth, they've shown that those clocks, even though that they're electronic, they experience time differently.
Right.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think it's some sort of manipulation.
My dude.
Yeah. I genuinely think it's some sort of manipulation in like the fabric of space-time or whatever you want to call it. I like to think of it as a fabric or like a sheet that can bend and fold. And so I always think of it like if space-time is some distance across a sheet or something, you can fold that to close that distance, like, and manipulate that time. That's how I think of it. What was I just gonna say?
I do think it was really interesting that you talked specifically or brought up that talking about that envelope. If this guy that wound up in the Jehovah's Witnesses parking lot, you'd think that song, since it's a radio signal, that is not included in that.
I didn't even think about that. It's not originating from there. It's originating from far off. I didn't even think about that.
That is true, yeah.
You know, if it was his phone with like a Bluetooth connection, that's different.
Yeah,
it's right there.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't even think about that. See, that's what fishy story.
So the signal originates from somewhere else, but it's still traveling to where he's at. So
maybe
he's still
the
receiving.
Signal gets slowed as well.
And I mean, there's some argument that you could talk about. You know, they're waves, just like anything else is, and so can be manipulated just in the same way that anything else can be manipulated. So, I mean, there's that argument, but I still think that that's a really good question that you have, because as soon as he comes out of that time envelope that you described, then you would think that it would then catch back on track with whatever the real radio station was playing at that time or supposed to be playing.
Right. Can I tell another missing time story?
Sure.
This is an alien one. So this is on that call-in show that I called into the other day. I was listening to, and a guy called in saying that when he was like 12 or 13, he was playing N64 in his room.
Okay, so that by itself has got to be like whenever you're playing video games, everyone like 3 hours are gone.
The drive tunnel, it's the same thing with video games.
So he said he was playing really late at night. So his bedroom was in, I think, I don't know how his house was situated, but his bedroom didn't have any windows, or he had like blackout curtains or something. He didn't have any view to the outside from his bedroom. And so he's playing video games at like 2 or 3 in the morning, well past his bedtime, and he hears his parents like coming down the hall to tell him to go to bed. Like he hears the footsteps. So he goes and hides in his bed, to like pretend that he's asleep or whatever, turns off the TV, and the door opens and he sees nobody there. And so he's like, this is a little weird. And so then he says, he describes it as like the predator camouflage, like the active camouflage.
Okay,
that
this
he
just
sees
got
kind
real.
of this like, he sees this like yellowish kind of staticky like active camouflage type thing that he can kind of see through, but it's like distorting whatever's around it,
Like Halo?
Yeah. What?
Like Halo camouflage?
Like Predator. I don't know the Halo camouflage. The Predator camouflage, like
No, hold on, let me Google Predator camouflage.
So with you talking about yellowish particle thing, that actually reminded me of the game Metal Gear Solid, that you can unlock this camouflage and it's like a yellowy tint.
so basically the Predator camouflage kind of like it blends in with what's behind it, but it kind of distorts what's like around it as well,
yeah,
if that
that's
makes sense.
Halo camouflage, yeah.
So
Basically what's happening in your background right now, Jack.
yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah, it's
So he
freaking
sees
annoying. I can't get it to stop.
he sees this like this silhouette of active camouflage, and then from behind it 2 other like silhouettes come out as well. So he's seeing like 3 active camouflage silhouettes in his dark bedroom. And he said like my eyes were still adjusting to the dark, so it was kind of hard to see, but he said he could definitely see that there were 3 there. And then he said that he tried to move, but he was frozen. He hadn't fallen asleep. He'd been on his bed for like 5 seconds before the door opened. So he hadn't fallen asleep or anything. But he was frozen on his bed and couldn't move, couldn't scream, like tried to call out for his parents, nothing. And then he feels himself levitate off of the bed. So he's laying like back down on the bed. He feels himself levitate off the bed. And then he said he couldn't tell. It felt like it didn't feel instantaneous. He couldn't tell how much time he was up there, but it didn't feel instantaneous. It didn't feel like a long time. He had no idea like how long he was levitating. It was like really like he just couldn't put his finger on it. And he doesn't know if he went anywhere else or anything like that, but he levitated there. And then he was just in this like weird limbo state. And then he said he fell back down onto the bed. And the moment that his back hit the bed, and he kind of like bounced off of the bed, then that's when he like regained his consciousness again. And so for him, he said it kind of at that moment it felt like it passed, it was like a second, like he levitated up. But when he was in the air, he remembers thinking like, I have no concept of like time right now, like how much time is passing. But then when he fell back down, he said it felt like one kind of instantaneous thing, if that makes sense. So he had 2 kind of perceptions of how the time was passing in different moments. And so then he gets up and he's freaked out. He doesn't see the things anymore. So he runs out of his room to go to his parents' room. And when he gets to his parents' room, it's like 7:30. Daylight's coming into their room and they're getting ready for work. So what he felt like was, he was in his bed for 5 seconds. These figures came in. He levitated off the bed, doesn't know how long he was up there, fell back down, ran into his parents' room. So what he said in his mind seemed like, a minute of this ordeal, or maybe minute to 2 minutes of all this stuff happening, but like 5 hours had passed.
And he must have never stayed up ever again late playing video games.
He was playing. What's the name of that N64 wrestling game? It's like, it's called. What was it? This is gonna bug me super bad now. It was like not WrestleMania. It was. Oh, I have to find it now. It was
No Mercy.
no, I'm looking at the list right now. It was man. I don't remember what it was called.
You're really having a rough time with it.
I am. It like when I get on this kick and I can't remember something, it bugs the freaking. Oh, yeah, Saturday Night Slam Masters. That's what it was. Super Nintendo.
Oh, that's not the 64.
Sorry, it's Nintendo. It's all the same.
No.
Saturday Night Slam Masters.
I thought if it was Sony, it's all the same.
Get off the Sony.
Hey, shut up. Shut up. I will get off this podcast right now. I told you about that, right, Jack?
Yeah. My mom was the same with the Nintendo, so.
My mom just used colors. She didn't have names for stuff. It was just colors.
That's the green.
That's
That or
funny.
like get off the Apple. My mom would also use Apple for the
Apple.
phone. Like,
Oh, jeez.
get off the Apple.
Okay, so I thought we would do something fun here. I haven't read this, but I thought it'd be fun to do this together. This person is writing in, not to us specifically, but writing in with their story saying, "Did I just experience missing time?" This is Christian. So I was
Is he
thinking,
a Jehovah's Witness?
Is he Christian?
could be a Jehovah's Witness. So I figured we would read this and we would help Christian out and determine whether or not this is truly missing time or if he just forgot to set his clock back.
We're pros on the subject, so I'm ready.
We are.
All right. Christian writes, "A curious phenomenon spoke of by many, the missing time experience." If he's already writing like this when he's starting out, this doesn't bode well.
Yeah, he's a little too calm and put together to be like.
It's too theatrical.
Yeah. It wasn't missing time. I'm telling you that right now, Christian.
Have spoke to some who claim to have this happen. And any reader of paranormal literature or viewer of a number of documentaries and TV shows will know it often is associated with alien abduction. While I don't believe I was abducted, in parentheses, my rectum feels just fine.
I love that. I like Christian.
That's so good. That's great. Well, I don't believe I was abducted. My rectum feels just fine. The surrealness of the awareness of the passage of time is an incredibly strange sensation. When did this happen, you may ask? Less than 20 minutes ago in the initial time of posting.
Nope. Not buying it. Not buying it.
Sounds like it took him 20 minutes to think out how to write this message.
Which words sound the most smart?
What's gonna cause me to have the least amount of regret posting this?
Rectum. Boom.
As a researcher and investigator of the unexplained, my task right now is to cover the bases and go over the details, try and find the crack, as they say, not his rectum. The story and experience is such. I came home from work, got in about 3:35, and there. Okay, so he's using a decimal, a period between 3:35. So I don't know if that gives us any indication of where Christian is from, and it's Christian with a K. But I came home from work, got in about 3:35 to 3:40. Sylvia, my partner in crime, was just about to get ready to leave for work, which she did at 3:47 p.m.
Apparently, colon is used in British, as a British thing. I mean, a period instead of a colon is a British thing.
Interesting. So Sylvia's getting ready to leave for work at 3:47 p.m. And I recall this because I read her the time from the computer screen when she asked. Sylvia then leaves the place. I pick up a few bits from the sofa, answer a text from my sister, and ready to get on with some... Oh, this guy's definitely British. Maybe, could be Australian. We do have a subscriber in Australia. Let us know if they use the decimal here, because right now this sounds a little either English or Australian. Answer a text from my sister, and ready to get on with some design work. Head into the bedroom to get changed out. Uniform into civvies. I recall moving a few bits on the floor and standing up, changing my shirt and trousers to jeans. I hear a high-pitched sound similar to an old-fashioned kettle with a whistle, but higher, a persistent sound. I recall as I am writing. I think that's now.
This is great articulation.
I mean, maybe this was a post that he's just like doing voice to text.
And it couldn't pick up on the terrible British accent.
He still had it set to U.S. English instead of UK English. So I hear a high-pitched sound similar to an old-fashioned kettle or a whistle, but higher persistent sound. I now recall, as I am writing, moving to turn around to look at the bedroom door. I am not tired, far from it. Next thing I remember, I am shivering, bitterly cold, teeth are chattering, and I know I'm laying down on the bed. It is dark. Feels like I am coming out of a sleep as I'm moving my arm around trying to find the blanket. Like you do in the morning or when the blanket has been tugged away. My alertness kicks in. I realize I am laying on top of the bed, diagonally feet to bottom left, head to top right. I jump up from the bed and see outside the window. It is really dark. So my instinct is directing me to know the time. My phone reads 18:57, so that would be 6:57 p.m. So this person has lost 3 hours. Okay, so this is weird. Why would he say earlier in this 3:35 p.m., but then he switches to 18:57?
Didn't he say? I thought he said he only lost like 20 minutes. Oh, he said it was 20 minutes ago that it happened.
Yeah, 20 minutes ago. But that's really weird that
That's strange.
that he would say, yeah, that he'd be 12
Standard
hours
to
one and then
military
switch
time.
over to 24 hours.
20
Anywho.
minutes after a life-changing experience like that, that's impressive. I would, first thing I would do is go get a big ol' snack, sit down and have a little think about what just happened.
Oh yeah. Have a
And
plate of nachos and just go,
yep,
Now what the heck?
did I just hunger up that whole experience there? Let's
So
And then you
there's
eat a couple nachos and go, probably nothing, and then watch some National Geographic till 3 a.m.
yep.
play a little Saturday night fight night game on the Sony and have a ball.
Then you fall asleep and you wake up and it's the intro to George Lopez.
I came into the living room, got to kitchen, put kettle on, and attempt to get warm by putting fire on.
Why does he sound like a caveman?
I don't.
Because he's British.
I don't.
I go to kitchen, I put kettle on,
They,
I put fire on.
well, think of it. The British say, I go to hospital. I go to university. Like, they never say the. And
That's true. I mean, so I am reading this like word for word, exactly as it says. Then I come to post this.
It's like he's 6 years old.
Then in this there's a box, almost like this is him maybe adding to it or editing to it, I think, that says, well, that was just plain surreal. Got home from work, Sylvia was just leaving. This was about 3:45. I remember going into bed, a strange sound like a high-pitched whine. Next thing I know, it's 7 p.m. I've got some disorientation going on. I assume I fell asleep but wasn't tired and don't recall going to sleep. I have no... So then this is out of that apparent response, is what I think it was, to something else. I have no recollection of the passage of time for the 2 hours. I wasn't tired and no intention of going to sleep. The transition of time was virtually instantaneous. Being in bedroom, getting changed, to waking up freezing cold. The sound is puzzling. It was a single note of high pitch. I have no history of tinnitus, albeit sometimes I can hear a similar sound generated occasionally by TVs. I must put forward the surreal sensation afterwards was very well surreal. Signed, Christian. So, Christian, we are here to help you out, us being the experts in...
First tip for Christian. Sign up for first grade.
Okay, Jack.
My other first tip for Christian, maybe he ate some British food, which it all looks bad to me, and just got a little sick. Because
Passed out from how bad it was.
It all looks like it would make you sick there.
Yeah,
And
some sort of meat pie.
yeah,
What's up with that?
or blood sausage or blood pudding or whatever they call that stuff. Gross.
Okay, so what's your opinion, Austin?
Well, I appreciate that he provided some potential explanations. Like, hey, it could have been a TV. I could have fallen asleep. Because then that makes me think, yeah, you probably did fall asleep. Yeah, I don't know. I think he fell asleep. He's in his bed.
Well,
Reminds me
he's just
of-
on top.
I'm pretty
Still.
sure Austin and I talked about this very, very briefly, I think, in an episode. Maybe it was just
Did we?
while we're playing games. But I remember, I'm pretty sure it was with you. We were talking about someone who, like, said they, like, went to bed, and then when they, like, all of a sudden woke up and were like, it's only been, like, 5 minutes. Like, what happened? And, like, but the way they described it was just like, dude, you just went to bed. Like you just went to sleep. That's what happens when you go to sleep. I remember making fun of
I
them,
vaguely
I don't
remember
remember
that.
that, but it was. I remember making fun of somebody for that
Like,
exact reason. It was just
Yeah,
like,
because yeah, like when you're sleeping, it feels like an instant. That's why sleeping is great, because then you just wake up and it's morning. Like, you don't feel the passage of time. So plus, like, I know. So this was like 3:47, right? That he fell asleep, or that he got onto his bed and had this happen. If I
Yep.
ever, like, I remember being in high school, and if I ever came home and took a nap after school and woke up, and it was like dinner time, it was the weirdest freaking feeling in the whole world. Like, my day just felt so off. Like,
Yeah,
do you
I
remember
agree
that?
with
Like,
that.
if
Yeah.
if I take an afternoon nap and then I like, if I take a nap, it has to be like late morning or early afternoon. But if I took a nap like mid to late afternoon into the evening, it just feels weird because like you go to bed and it's light outside, you wake up and it's dark outside,
Yeah, I
and
think
like,
that's the biggest thing is you're not used to waking up, going to bed light, waking up dark. It's usually the other way around.
right.
But yeah, I remember I mean I did happen like 2 weeks ago. I remember it was like a Saturday or something. My wife was at work, fell asleep on the couch. She got home from work and I woke up and it was just like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, like I always just felt so weird and off. Like I hated taking naps after school because of the way that it made me feel. So I think that it's something like that, honestly. Like I think he just fell asleep. He wakes up and he's still in his bed and he's like, that was weird.
Jack, what's your opinion?
I feel like the same thing. I agree with Austin there.
But what about
It's-
the high pitched noise?
That's
I
what
don't
woke him
know.
up.
Every once in a while, my ears ring for
Yeah.
no effing reason.
Maybe he dreamed the noise or something, you know? I don't know.
Hard to
All
say.
right.
I think he was asleep. I really do.
All right, Christian. We're glad your colon feels just fine. That's
Well, if he had said his butthole felt a little stretched, then it's a whole different story. But I mean, he said it right there. His rectum felt fine, so it's just sleeping.
Yeah, if he woke up and was like, I really had to poop, then maybe
Then we can talk.
it'd be a little fishy. But yeah, I think it's just a classic case of the nappies,
all right.
sleepy times. Brian, what do you think? You didn't tell us what you think.
Personally, I feel like the high pitched noise to me that fits in too well with a lot of the other distraction things that come into missing time. So I actually feel like there is a little bit more. I feel like there might be a little bit more here than just falling asleep.
You got to remember that this guy claimed that it happened 20 minutes ago, and the first thing he does is go to what, Reddit?
Yeah.
Answers or...
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had an experience that more or less could be what's it called when you're like half awake, half asleep? Lucid dreaming. No, not even lucid dreaming. Sleep paralysis.
Oh.
So I'm pretty sure I had an experience with that. But without going into details of the story, my experience of how it was afterward was being in bed and being very, very aware of every little detail. So at the same time, while I'm like kind of getting picky about other people's experiences about being super precise, I remember thinking like I have to document everything. And so I wrote everything. Like I got up, went into the bathroom, and then just started writing every little detail down that I could because I knew that I was just going to forget everything that was on my mind.
Did you go into the bathroom because your rectum was feeling a little weird?
Now that you say it, yes! Yes!
Here's why I think it's sleep. I 100% understand that really surreal feeling that he felt. Like I'm not exaggerating when I say if I took an afternoon nap, like it just felt so incredibly strange to me to wake up in the evening. Like just so weird. And So
Felt otherworldly almost.
Yeah, I understand that aspect of it 100%. And so that alone is what's making me like, yeah, he probably fell asleep 3 in the afternoon, wake up at 7, totally understand like why he'd feel that way.
I think he wanted it to be that.
Yes. I do think that there is definitely that situation where
With how eager he was to post this
and
get feedback from people.
That's a good
just
point.
Like, this sleep paralysis? Oh yeah, it was definitely sleep paralysis. Let me share this kind of thing.
Similar to Austin's experience with the UFO.
That was real.
I'll say from the pictures, they were weird.
I have pictures of it. It is documented evidence. Okay,
but they're as good quality as a UFO picture gets.
Oh, for sure. Like I can't believe that I'm part of that dumb cliche, like using a ATM security camera from 2003 to take a picture of a UFO. Like, I'm
He
so
sent
mad.
it to me, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I even looking at, man?"
So right, Jack and I had podcasted that night, and I had said to the aliens to come and get me.
Yep.
So I pulled off on the shoulder of the highway and called Jack and was like, "Dude, it's happening. It is like they're coming for me. Like, tell my story. Tell them what happened. Like, if I don't call you back,
if I don't show up tomorrow,
yeah,
you know why."
I was legitimately freaked out though, because it was so weird. I've never seen a craft that stayed in the same place for, it was like a good 20 to 30 minutes.
You didn't experience any missing time, did you?
No, not that I remember. I went and drove Uber that night for like 4 hours in Salt Lake. This was at like midnight that I saw it too. It was really late at night. And then I went and drove Uber for like 4 hours in Salt Lake. And so I got to my parents' house at like 4:30 in the morning. The whole time I'm like still freaked out. Like, they're going to come and get me tonight. It was legitimately weird. Like, the shape of the craft was different than what I've seen. The orientation of the lights on the back was a little like different than what I've seen. It was just very interesting. And granted, there is a military base, like an Air Force base that's in that general area. So it was kind of down by hill. So that's my first inkling of like, okay, it's some military craft. But I like the shape of it was just like so weird that I can't really. It doesn't look like any other craft that I've ever seen. So, yeah.
Well, sorry, Christian. I tried to give you a little support, give you a little leg up, but you've been outvoted. You just fell asleep.
You've been voted off the island, my friend.
Off the paranormal island.
Go back to your own island across the pond, okay?
So
I don't want to isolate our British listeners. We tolerate you.
Tolerate. Hopefully they tolerate us. So yeah, that's the general thing of missing time. My opinion is that in general, missing time is a symptom and is not the actual paranormal thing that is happening. So, all of these experiences where it's just like essentially a bunch of loose ends that haven't been tied together of them just saying like, yeah, I don't get it. There's time missing. Part of me really wonders what would happen if they did go through hypnosis therapy. But I know for myself, if I experienced that, I would not want to open Pandora's box. And after listening to Betty and Barney Hill's their recorded sessions, makes me not want to risk opening that. In my opinion, it is better to be ignorant of the fact of what happened.
Ignorance is bliss.
Well, I gave my thoughts on it already, so I won't dive into that again. Riffs in the space-time. folds in the space-time. That's my thought. Interdimensional travel of aliens, Bigfoot, whatever being or thing is associated with it.
I mean, we have proved that wormholes are a real thing.
And
So-
I do think that not every single event of the space-time warping or missing time, I don't think it has to be necessarily a paranormal event. Because if you ever look at like the actual magnetic fields of the Earth, it is not just like this simple north to south, looks like an apple kind of configuration. If you look at the true magnetism of the Earth, it is just this spaghetti of the north and south pulling on each other, and in some places you wouldn't think that you would see these anomalies of magnetism. But the Bermuda Triangle, in my opinion, is one of them. A lot of other places where people say that there's a lot of paranormal activity, like Skinwalker Ranch, in my opinion, is one of those areas where there's probably magnetic anomalies that are contributing to some of those experiences. And so we do not live in a cut and dry black and white kind of universe. So
I agree. One last thought. This memory just popped into my head of when I encountered somebody who had quote unquote missing time. So at the time, I worked in a grocery store deli in Salt Lake. And I think Ryan knows this story. And I invented a sandwich that I would eat for lunch all the time at the deli that was my own creation. And one day I was eating this sandwich. And,
called what?
Well, I'm getting there. I'm getting
Okay.
there. This is the reason it got the name it did. So one day I'm eating the sandwich in the break room, and this guy from produce is like around my age, comes into the break room, and he's like, dude, that sandwich looks so good. Like, what is it? So I like told him what was on it and everything, and he's like, so the next day he came and he's like, can you make me one of those? I want to eat it. So then I hear later, he was the produce stalker, and everyone was asking like where he was. He got in trouble because he went way over on his break, like by like a half hour. He went way over on his break by like a half hour. And so later I asked him, I was like, dude, what happened? And he's like, I'm serious. I took a couple bites of that sandwich, and it was so good that I just lost like all concept of time. And I just sat there and just reveled in this sandwich. And so we ended up naming the sandwich the Time Warp. And it was a special on the menu like multiple times, this Time Warp sandwich. But yeah, so I agree. If you're hungry, like Jack was saying earlier, food related time warps are a real thing.
Gotta
There
be.
you go. Any last thoughts, Jack?
No, I think that's just about it on my part. It's something I don't fully accept yet. I don't deny it by any means, but there's just not enough for me to be like, it's just a bunch of Christians out there.
It's all the Jehovah's Witnesses.
All right. Well, we appreciate all of our listeners coming and spending this time with us. And if you want to see any kind of merchandise available, then getting your kind of feedback would be good. Also, hit us up on the social media.
Someone who's talented with graphic design us a t-shirt.
Ooh, I actually have a friend.
My brother is a graphic designer.
That's right.
We got people.
And I have a friend from high school whose family owns a t-shirt printing company.
Ooh.
I do think it would be really, really cool though if we had a listener that designed something specific.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a good idea.
We might be able to get a good deal on some wearable merch. I'll have to reach out and see.
All right.
Cool. Share with your friends. Send us topics you want to hear. And don't forget to love yourself. Take a minute and just give yourself a hug, say you're doing great, and then continue listening to our podcast, sharing, and all that stuff.
Very good. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.